when you're moving from place to place, place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We continue conversations this morning. As you are aware, the general elections 2025 held here in Trinidad and Tobago concluded on the 28th of April, and we saw the outcome there, the UNC being forming the government of Trinidad and Tobago. We also had successes in Tobago where we had 2 MPs from Tobago East and West representing the Tobago People's Party, the TPP, are now members of our parliament in the form of Joel Sampson for Tobago West and Mr. Thomas for Tobago East. Online with us this morning to have that conversation as to how we're going to transition and make things work for us here on the island of Tobago is the Deputy Political Leader of the Tobago People's Party, Dr. Faith Brebner. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
Good morning, Dr. Brebner.
Good morning. Good morning.
Right.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you now. Welcome this morning to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television. Let us start off by saying congratulations to you and your party and the 2 representatives who are going to represent all of Tobago in the parliament as they bring forth the Tobago issues. And so, of course, again, congratulations to you guys. So we're in the parliament.
Thank you. And let me just say, though, congratulations to Tobago, to the party, yes, but we took all 60,000 strong of us to get to this point. Thank you.
That's right. And of course, as it is, we will be looking on to see how that relationship is going to work. We're going to be looking on to see the impact, because we have seen, history has shown that we have had struggles, challenges in terms of effectively representing Tobago in the House, and now not being a part of the cabinet. How do we make that measure of impact? And that's a very, very important and burning question for all of Tobago. In fact, I know 𝐓𝐏𝐏𝐏𝐬 is excited to ask you a few questions where that is concerned. But an overview in terms of what is the plan in terms of ensuring those 2 seats, though not a part of the cabinet, how are they going to make the measure of impact that we are hoping to make to ensure that the voice of Tobago, the 60,000 of us that you took with you, how are you going to ensure that our voices are heard?
So that is a very good question, but I think people were not paying very close attention to what we were saying in the parliament. So there was what we were saying on the campaign trail. So let me clear up a couple of things. One, yes, the political leader, and we've always said during the campaigning that our aim is to have 2 members of parliament, 2 MPs who will solely represent the people of Tobago in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, and that is what we were sending them down to do. As a matter of fact, I think you will remember the political leader on one of the nights saying, fine China is what we put in cabinets. We don't want them to go into any cabinet. We want them to go down and be members of Parliament who represent us in the Parliament. How does that happen? That happens 2 ways. That happens with us, meaning the entire political organization led by the political leader, negotiating in the background with the MPs and so forth, with whomever is the government there. And then when we negotiate, because that is how parliaments work, that is how parliaments work throughout the world. When we negotiate, we are then able to lend our political voice in terms of our votes inside of the parliament by voting for or against certain pieces of legislation as we see fit, as we see them representing Tobago or influencing Tobago well, positively or negatively. Let me clear up another point. I think people are confused by the concept of forming the government versus being a part of the cabinet. Whenever an election happens in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, what the law basically says is the president will make the person who he or she thinks has the greatest volume of support by the number of elected members and make that person the prime minister. So when we were talking about ensuring that we put those two seats to help form the government, depending on which of the political parties in Trinidad were willing to provide to Tobago, to the Tobago House of Assembly, the kinds of resources that we thought fit for the Tobago people to develop. That is what we meant. We meant after the election, if there is a very, very close race and we need these two seats to make up the majority in the parliament, we will say yes. We will provide support to either the PNM or the UNC, depending on who is able to provide to Tobago the things that we think Tobago needed to happen. That did not mean necessarily being a part of the cabinet. And why is not being in the cabinet such an important critical factor? Cabinet requires you to have, very much like the executive council, requires you to have something known as collective responsibility, meaning whatever decision is made within there, all of us agree that whether we agreed or not, whether we had a minority issue or not within there, we all come out of that group, that room, having one voice saying, yes, we agree with whatever the cabinet, or in the Tobago space, whatever the executive council agreed to. We did not want our members to be caught up in a situation where they needed to have collective responsibility for something that may happen in the cabinet that may not have necessarily been the best thing for the people of Tobago. And that is why we've always been very clear that our aim going forward is to have those two voices in the parliament and not necessarily in the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago. But the aim is to continue negotiating. And by the way, those negotiations have started already. I am very, very pleased to say those negotiations have started, and very, very soon Tobago will see the benefits of those negotiations.
Dr. Bebna, as you stated recently, just a little while, you said you wanted to negotiate from opposition within the parliament and not necessarily within the cabinet. We had some conversations a couple of weeks ago with the former Senator Hislop, and he stated that the private members usually have one chance to speak per month. Now that the PNM and the TPP are in opposition, and it's no secret that the PNM and the TPP have no really good relations with each other. You don't see eye to eye on many things. How would you all now negotiate who speaks when? Have you all begun to have any kind of conversations with the People's National Movement concerning this? Do you all have any concerns or fears that the People's National Movement may stifle or may not give you all as many opportunities to speak within the House? How does the TPP plan to negotiate that, to navigate that, sorry?
Certainly. So what you've identified is the fact that the PNM has been and probably continues to be a very wicked organization. And they continue to be and they have intentions of being a very, very, very wicked organization to Tobago and the people of Tobago. So for the PNM to even suggest that the two Tobago representatives who are in the parliament duly elected would not get an opportunity because they will continue to try to stifle us says something about that organization. And I want all of Tobago to listen to that and to be careful about that as well. But I want to take us back to something else though. What we have is a situation where, there's something called political will, where something can happen if the people who are in charge want it to happen. We now have a situation, 𝐓𝐿𝐴, where we have a prime minister who is not part of the evil PNM, as my words, not yours. And we have a chief secretary who is in Tobago representing the Tobago People's Party, but representing all of Tobago. We have a situation where the law is very, very clear about how these two entities, meaning the government of Trinidad and Tobago and the Tobago House of Assembly, should be interacting with each other. Very clear. The Chief Secretary and the Prime Minister should be meeting as frequently as they need to. The members who are ministers should be meeting with the secretaries as frequently as we need to. What we are now going to see is political will. What we are now going to see is the fact that in many instances, the PNM did not do what the law said that they were going to do. And we are hoping that as the newly minted Prime Minister said while she was being inaugurated, that she will actually, and her cabinet and her government would actually respect the Tobago House of Assembly and would respect the laws that govern the Tobago House of Assembly. So we will be able to collectively meet, negotiate, and do what we have to do on behalf of the people of Tobago. But I'm really, really glad that you are identifying that even in a situation like this, the PNM is still being and trying to continue to be wicked to the people of Tobago. That is a sad state of affairs.
Dr. Brebner, I just want to make a slight correction there. I don't think, and my recollection, I don't think the PNM, the member, said that that is what is going to happen. Yeah. He said it's a possibility. He was kind of looking at the what is possible to happen. So we're just gonna. I'm not.
So that's fine. You can clear it up so that you do not have to make a call of apology. But I am saying the fact that that even comes out of their mouth as a possibility means that they are thinking about it and they are thinking about doing it. I will take it. You don't have to take it. I will absorb Tobago updates from that. I will say that the fact that they have even said it means that they are thinking about it. Your apology and your correction, your clarification is fine.
All right, and moving forward, one of my questions was going to be, and you alluded to it earlier, in terms of the relationships for negotiations with the UNC, the current government, the current cabinet, in terms of identifying specific projects that you want to see implemented in Tobago. What is the conversation like, and what is the likelihood of a nod in the favor of Tobago to ensure, if even not a complete project, but at least some type of negotiation in terms of advancement for projects on the island of Tobago, whether it be increases in allocations, whether it be increase in resources, whether it be tightened partnerships. What is the conversation looking like? And in terms of the realistic outcomes or the expectations of your outcomes, what is the position where that is concerned right now?
Very good question. I think the tenor of what we are doing has already started. I think the Chief Secretary already said it in an interview while in Trinidad, that he actually had one of the first meetings with the Prime Minister after she was inaugurated earlier this week. That very night, he actually met with her, the team met with her, and we started the negotiation. What the foundation of those negotiations, though, are based on the relationship between the two entities, the level of mutual respect that is to happen between the two entities. And when we start from a level of mutual respect, then the negotiations can happen in a way that is practical. So, for example, the TPP does not expect that tomorrow morning we will get 20% of the budget, because that is just not a practical thing for us to expect. We would love it if we get 20%. What we are looking at, for example, is to go back and look at the percentage of the population that Tobago stands at, which is just a little over 5%. And we start there with the negotiations. But when you are sitting around a table with somebody who is negotiating in good faith, that makes a big difference in what comes out of it. So we are looking at, and I'll give you some very broad examples. We are looking at, yes, the volume of money that actually comes to the Tobago House of Assembly. We are at this point very close to the midterm review, and this is a space where we are able to say to the government, this is how much we've gotten before, this is how much we've spent, this is how much more we need based on our projections and so forth, so we can have that kind of good faith negotiation. We also need to look at what the law actually says should be happening. There are many things that the Tobago House of Assembly should be responsible for that some PNM government in the past gave it back to central government. So we are going back and looking back at areas like town and country planning, for example, and so forth, to say, well, okay, these things are really supposed to be done in Tobago for Tobagonians. Let us see how we can bring them back so that people on the island can do them well. One of the first things that the Prime Minister spoke about was the repealing of that act that refers to how we collect taxes and so forth. What most people don't know is that the way that act was written had actually completely eliminated the Tobago House of Assembly. It's like they forgot that there were even people in Tobago who were responsible for tax collection and so forth. So with that being repealed, we can then go back to the drawing board to say, well, what is a better way for that to happen on the island? When we look at, for example, how we deal with international agencies, and in many instances, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the evil PNM government of Trinidad and Tobago, refuses to give something as simple as a non-objection letter for us to have projects, for us to work, for us to get technical assistance from international agencies. Those are the areas that we have gone to them, indicating that these are simple things that could be fixed. But I said what I said at the beginning, it starts with political will, and it starts with us being equal partners. It starts with us being at the negotiating table and negotiating in good faith. And that is what we hope the people of Tobago would be able to benefit from, this newfound relationship between these two entities, because we respect each other, we understand each other's position, and we go forward for the best thing for Trinidad and Tobago.
All right. And, you know, of course, we saw there at the swearing in of the cabinet on Saturday, we saw where conversations already started happening, where we saw interviews with, as you mentioned, the chief secretary there. And we also heard that the Minister of Culture, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was saying that she is willing and open to have the conversations to see where Tobago will fit in on it. So I do hope, and where we position ourselves, not just Tobago Updates, I'm speaking on behalf of myself and the 60,000 of us, that the conversation actually comes to a place where we can see benefits. Question that I would personally like to ask is, because for me, it's all about assessment and also ensuring that we can see the outcomes. How do you measure the outcomes? So what kind of time frame as a party collectively have you decided that, listen, this is the time we want to start to see impact. This is the time we want to start to see a yes. This is the time we want to start to see, yeah, we're moving forward with this. What kind of time frame you're looking at to see any measure of impact taking place?
Certainly. So we are beginning from day one. Today is the official first day for many of them. We hope to have our meetings, as in the individual secretaries, the meeting with the individual ministers and so forth going forward. Our midterm review is within the next couple of weeks. So I think that is a good place to start seeing some kind of movement. But even before then, because those conversations have started, I would not necessarily want to project a timeline. As you know, that's one of the things that I have never done, being in this position as a politician or as a secretary or DCS. I don't give timelines because even though we may have an internal timeline, stuff always happens. But I would say, looking at the midterm review period, that would be a good time to see whether the needle has actually begun shifting on behalf of the people of Tobago. And let's just say quickly, last year, remember when we asked in the midterm review, we asked for 100 million or so for oil spill, we asked for another 100 and something million for other things, and all we got was the 50 million as it related to oil spill. So let's just look at that as a benchmark and see where we go from there.
That's very good that you were able to identify, because you literally have to identify a specific project to see where. So I'm happy that you brought that to the fore as well. So hopefully we can see some kind of indents there. And, you know, in closing, my final question to you is a feel-good question, right? Our two MPs, how do they feel? I hope we get to speak to them at some point in time. But from where you sit and the conversations that you've been having, what is the feeling like for our two MPs?
They are so excited about this. I mean, they are the ones who identify themselves as wanting to do this on behalf of the people of Tobago. So to be given the opportunity to finally be in a position where they can possibly change history. This is actually such a momentous occasion. Children who are going to school 30, 40, 100 years from now will be reading about David Thomas and Joel Sampson as being the MPs who helped to change the course of Tobago. And I think that is such an exciting place. I am personally really, really excited for them. I am so happy on their behalf, but I am happier because Tobago collectively now has a chance, and I think we should not waste that at all. I am genuinely happy for them.
Absolutely, and again, our congratulations are extended, and we too, we have to root and rally because we want to ensure that we reap the benefits of the labor that has been put in for all of us here for generations to come. So we sit with you, and we do hope that the representation is taken seriously and that we can see the measure of impact we are hoping for. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Dr. Faith Brebner, Deputy Political Leader of the TPP, Tobago People's Party. The outcome of the general elections 2025. Our two representatives from Tobago East and West sitting in the Parliament and representing Tobago, bringing forth our issues. And we heard about the plans, the strategies in terms of negotiations and how they are going to partner with the cabinet to ensure Tobago gets what Tobago needs. We have to go for a short break before we continue conversations, and we do hope that you can stay with us. And as you stay, we invite you to help us share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.